Well, we want to turn back now to Capitol Hill, where in something of a surprise move, House Republicans have reversed course on something of another surprise move that would have weakened, if not effectively gutted, the independent Office of Congressional Ethics. This decision came just moments ago and after President-elect Donald Trump, it should be noted, tweeted that such a move shouldn't be Congress's first priority, and it all does come as the 115th Congress is being officially sworn in on Capitol Hill. As we are, in fact, watching some of that, there is actually Representative Gabby Giffords alongside her husband, Mark Kelly. We do want to bring in now CBS News congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes, who's been following this story all day, really all night as well. So, Nancy, what can you tell us about a move we said we have heard originated in the Capitol Hill basement?
And that's where I am right now, Josh, after what may have been one of the quickest conference meetings in congressional history. The Republicans called this emergency meeting among their own members in the House about half an hour ago because they were just getting deluged with criticism for this surprise move yesterday where they decided to gut the Office of Congressional Ethics. Many of them, certainly not the Speaker, but a lot of them were caught off guard by the blowback that is pointed out culminated with criticism from the President-elect himself, who said, why are you focusing on something like this when there are so many other things we need to do for the American people? So they called this emergency meeting. They went in there, and basically the House Majority Leader, Kevin McCarthy, made the case to these Republican members, look, there are so many things we need to do. There's so many things that we want to be known for doing at the start of this Congress for the American people. This is not one of them. Yes, this Office of Congressional Ethics needs to be reformed, but this is not the way to do it. We need to do this on a bipartisan basis. Probably not the day that the 115th Congress goes into session. And very quickly they took a vote and agreed to change course. And so now this rules package will go to the full House with that particular amendment stripped out of it.
Now, you do mention the blowback. We should note that both Speaker Paul Ryan and House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, we were told last night, both argued against the rules change. It did, however, pass. Nevertheless, you also mentioned the tweet from Donald Trump, who did point out that he believes the OCE is unfair. He seemed again to question, if nothing else, the timing of their decision. But for context's sake, Nancy, how surprising was the rule change passed last night?
It came as a big surprise to Republican leaders. They knew that it was going to come up for a vote, but they didn't think that it was going to pass. The reason that a number of lawmakers feel very passionately about this is because they feel that the Office of Congressional Ethics, as it is set up right now, is unfair, that it doesn't give lawmakers due process. By way of background, this committee was set up about 10 years ago in the Abramoff scandal when Democrats led the House, and they believed that lawmakers couldn't always do a very good job of policing their own. And so this independent watchdog was created with some autonomy to be able to look into complaints about members without having to get approval from members. And so this watchdog, for example, can investigate anonymous complaints about members. It can release its findings to the public, and those are all seen as steps towards transparency. But what some of these Republican lawmakers were arguing is that it can have unintended consequences, that they have colleagues who have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars defending themselves against anonymous accusations, and that they essentially have to prove themselves innocent instead of being innocent until proven guilty, and that they get slandered in the court of public opinion when this anonymous complaint might not have a lot of basis of fact in the first place. So no one argues that this office could use some reforms, but what the Speaker was arguing last night was that passing a rule behind closed doors to do it that essentially went all the way to basically gutting this office altogether, gutting all of its powers, was probably not the right way to go about it.
It would appear we all can suddenly now agree on that as we do watch Kathy McMorris Rodgers begin the nominating for the House speakership. We're watching Paul Ryan's rubber stamp currently being wielded. And speaking of the speaker here, Nancy, again, as I mentioned, both he and Kevin McCarthy had opposed this. What does it say about their hold on the caucus?
Well, this is a caucus that has not been incredibly responsive to leadership's desires for quite some time. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Speaker John Boehner essentially got pushed out because the members had their own ideas about how this Republican conference should be led. In this case, however, I do think it says something about his power and influence that members were willing so quickly to change course when they saw the criticism that they were getting from Democrats and Republicans alike. I mean, you had conservative groups like Judicial Watch, which is reliably on the side of Republicans, calling the move shameful. And arguing that this was a total step in the wrong direction. So they could see pretty quickly that this was an overreach, but I think the nail in the coffin was Donald Trump himself tweeting that it was a mistake. This meeting that just broke up was not scheduled to occur until members saw those tweets from Donald Trump. And then in pretty short order, leadership put out the word that they needed to have this emergency meeting. So aides tell me that his tweets were not directly responsible for the meeting being called and this reversal, but certainly they were the nail in the coffin because they were already being deluged with criticism on a day when they were really hoping for a flawless start to the 115th Congress.
I would not ask you to perhaps overly postulate here, then, Nancy, but I do wonder, in what scenario, then, did they believe that this would not receive the blowback that has actually come to pass here and so necessitated a reversal of their initial decision? Was there a sense among Bob Goodlatte or others that there was that this was something that there was a climate where this would be seen as in any way okay?
Well, I think that they believed that there are just as many Democrats who have been who have run afoul unfairly of the Office of Congressional Ethics as Republicans. So I think perhaps they thought that they would get some buy-in from Democrats. Beyond that, Bob Goodlatte, who proposed this, simply saw this as the most opportune time to make changes because traditionally, on the day that Congress opens, you pass a package of rules that will govern how Congress works for the next 2 years. So if you want to change those rules, the easiest time to do it is now. So they were sort of thinking logistically. They were thinking that there was a tremendous unfairness here that needed to be fixed. And to be honest, I think congressional leadership allowed that vote to go forward last night because they didn't think it was going to pass. So they argued against it and just assumed, we'll vote and then, and it'll fail and we'll move on because this was not the only rule change that was being voted on last night. Yeah. There were about a dozen of them that had been proposed by various members. So I think the fact that it did pass caught leadership by surprise, and if they had thought ahead of time that it would, they may have argued more vociferously against letting the vote take place.
A fascinating misreading, perhaps, of the current climate, if nothing else here. Nancy Cordes, your hustle and insight, very much appreciated.
Glad to be with you, Josh.
We'll have much more then from Capitol Hill here throughout the day as the official swearing in of the 115th Congress does continue. For now, though, we are going to step away, take a quick break, reset ourselves. You're watching CBS.